Hey, thanks, Mark. Jacques Habra here. Happy to be here and participate in this riveting conversation on everything AI.
I don't feel, I feel like I'm a white belt, if you will, at this. And yet when I talk to my friends, they think I'm like a black belt, and I know I'm not at all. And so I think there's so many different levels of expertise, and people who've dabbled once and it didn't work, it didn't relate to them in the way they thought it would. So I'm really interested in the all the other people, the other 99%. So why don't you kind of talk about what do you think the barriers are from preventing the 99% from kind of getting in there and getting more widespread adoption?
Yeah, I mean, I think in a nutshell, the concept of artificial intelligence does seem like science fiction, and it does seem like you have to be some sort of a data scientist or a computer scientist to really grasp. I mean, what does that mean? What is artificial intelligence in its core? Is it like basically a computer behaving like a human being in terms of reasoning and conversation and problem solving, and that and then really innately really does seem like a pretty advanced, almost unattainable concept. So I understand why most people they're watching all of this development and the speed, and they're probably a little intimidated. Having said that, I just watched an interview with the co-founder of ChatGPT, Sam Altman, and he
Yeah.
himself admits that so many of the AI innovations and terms are really moving targets. It's such a new technology, it's so emerging that he himself recognizes that different groups have different definitions of artificial general intelligence and super intelligence. So if you're new to the concept of AI and you're feeling like you're in the dark, you're really not that out of the loop. And I think very quickly, hopefully, we can simplify and reduce things and make them understandable in this conversation.
There's when you talk about people have this misconception you need to be a developer or a data science or a the engineering type to use it. I think what has surprised me and those like me are, to quote what Jensen said from NVIDIA last year, he said, you don't have to know a programming language anymore. You just have to know the human language.
Exactly. I mean, at the very core of what we're seeing in AI and what we've seen in the last 2 years is natural language. So the concept that you can use words like we are right now to accomplish very complex tasks. For instance, with ChatGPT, which is basically a website. Think of it as a Google, any sort of like search engine, but it's its own web application. You can use natural language to direct it. You can say, produce a real estate contract that has me as the landlord and defines the following terms and has this person as the tenant. And it will do a really good job of producing an almost bulletproof contract, which is pretty mind blowing when you think about it and when you think about the cost savings compared to going to a typical $500 an hour attorney. So that natural language aspect of these interfaces is what's really exciting and what I think makes it attainable for the everyday person. You don't have to know coding. You don't have to speak at a high level or know something about the computer interface. Having said that, if you have a keener sense of how to prompt the AI engine, you're going to get a lot better results.
One of the things that, I 100% agree with you, and in last year, and probably up until April of this year, I spent a lot of time understanding prompting, learning there was a job title as a prompt engineer and kind of going through all of that. And it reminded me of the early days of Google where we felt like to get really good results, you kind of had to know how to Google. Like
Yeah.
there's this felt like there was this secret language. There were all these things you could do, and once you dove into it, it's like you got better results. What I found now is you can actually have a conversation with the AI. You just hit a different button instead of typing. You just talk to it, and you just ask it a question like you would ask, someone who worked with you, a colleague or something. And you get such a better result rather than trying to engineer your question.
Exactly. I mean, it is fascinating that you are talking with an iterative process as opposed to one where you input and then you get an output and then you have to put a new input and you get a new output. This thing is building on that conversation. So one of the common prompts to begin with is if you are, say, trying to produce a legal document, you actually make the declaration at the beginning that you tell the AI, in this case, ChatGPT, you are a highly experienced, seasoned real estate attorney. So the moment you do that, the system becomes just that. It accesses the databases and documents, and we're talking, basically the compendium of legal documents out there around real estate. It accesses that, and that's the domain that it uses to further the conversation. So the prompt engineer concept is one that's very real. It is going to be a very desirable job in the next couple of years. It already is becoming one in high tech companies, but I think you'll find it in basically every company in the next few years, is how to really interface and ask questions to this interface, to this AI interface.
I'm thinking of back to the 99%, the the person who is maybe raising the kids or cooking dinner, or house husbands who are there trying to figure out how to get everything for a big party that weekend. What are some of the just nuts and bolts things that we do every day that you've found that the AI helps you? Much like Google helped you. I think we would kind of demystify the AI is like just super Google, if you will.
Yeah, I mean, it can be anything you want it to be, and I don't mean that as a euphemism. I mean, I truly believe that this is a much greater and more transformative innovation than the web was when I got started 20 years ago or I'm sorry, it was actually 27 years ago now on the internet. But it has no limits because it is trying to build and trying to achieve, human intelligence and even beyond human intelligence. So it's all about the amount of data that you give it access to. But take the mom example. Moms, or dads, they've got a bunch of things they've got to do every single day for their families, and one of them is probably making dinners, and it's probably something that can get a little challenging to get creative on. But if the system knew what your dinners are and are have been, and what different people like, the system could basically extract that and start scheduling the dinners and probably get very creative in terms of recipes, and even get to the point of automatically filling your Instacart and having the food for your week's recipes appear on your doorstep on Monday. So I see that as an advancement that we are going to have for the everyday mom or dad in terms of food preparation and taking care of the family. It's the kind of thing where you don't want to you want to take out the thinking that is mundane in some ways and daily, and allow the system to do it for you. And to be honest, they're going to do a better job. They're going to get creative. They're going to find nuances and enhancements that you probably don't have time to think about, or maybe you don't want to put the time and energy to research. The system already knows. It has this unlimited data set where it can go out and find out what has worked for other families, much like yours, people that make, the same chicken dish every Tuesday night. Maybe you add a flair to it and it's slightly different, and suddenly it's a new desirable dish. So just that simple example, and integrating it with like an Instacart where the food is automatically ordered could really be transformative.
There's it has me thinking about we're now a couple of years past lockdown and COVID, yet a lot of people still work at home. A lot of people lost jobs and they've become entrepreneurial, and so they're starting small businesses, yet they're still just one or two people. And the thing that I think that they could start thinking about is this is the best assistant you could ever imagine having, who can
It
help you with
is.
your calendar and your
Yeah.
email and just to your point, the tedious things. Because as we try to, there's so many people listening, I know, that are very entrepreneurial, trying to do something completely new there, or they're mid-career and they don't have the team they used to have. Yet here you can say, to your point of you are a real estate person, you are a marketing person, you are a developer, you are a chief technology officer, and you can tell it that, and you're going to get shockingly good results.
Shockingly good. And again, it's hard to fathom basically access to this worldwide data on the fly for things like, again, cooking and recipes and so forth. But you can tell it you want it to be a world-class chef that prepares very healthy meals with low cholesterol and avoids maybe these proteins and avoids these vegetables, and it will produce an amazing setup for you for the next few weeks, few months, forever. It really depends on how much data you feed it. And I think one of the challenges right now for the 99% is that the interface, although it's relatively simple, it's still something you have to go into and set up. You have to go into ChatGPT. It's not a very visual experience. It's very textual. And so what we're going to see happen in 2025 that's going to shift is that these platforms are going to be linked to things like Alexa and OK Google and allow you to basically make the prompts voice activated. That's where things are going to become, I think, very disruptive and beneficial. So you'll ask OK Google to use ChatGPT to produce your schedule for the week and to look at your calendar and to achieve complex tasks. And the other thing that we're going to see is the shift from the input output of a chat GPT, where you give it a prompt and it produces a result, which is like a very enhanced search engine or a sophisticated assistant, as you put it, to the point where it can accomplish advanced tasks. And that's called agents, AI agents. That's the next wave of this evolution. So these agents are going to be able to basically approach it more than just input output. They're actually going to follow a workflow and solve complex tasks using many different tools. And so one of the things you might see in the next few months, or certainly in the next couple of years, is you'll be able to use your AI agent to schedule your doctor's appointment. You know, it'll look at your calendar. You'll tell it you want to have a doctor's appointment in the next 3 weeks. You can't do it on Monday or Thursday, and to make sure it doesn't cross over any other day. And it literally will be as I'm saying it. It'll be natural language. You'll say, schedule my doctor's appointment. Don't schedule it on Monday or Friday. Schedule it in the morning. Make sure that I've got a 1 hour gap between anything that's already in my calendar. And it will go and process that. It'll solve that complex task, which includes making contact with the doctor's office, figuring out their schedule and presenting options, and then coming back to you and saying, okay, your appointment's been scheduled. And when you think about scheduling a doctor's appointment, it seems like a relatively simple task, but it can often be a lot of back and forth. And you have to get the right person on the phone and then, go back and forth on the calendar and move things around. Wouldn't it be great to just make an utterance, literally, and get it done?
What's interesting is there's a lot of startups that are promising that solution today. So I tried one last week and shocking. It doesn't call the doctor's office, but it manages the heck out of my calendar, and it was actually surprisingly good. And we're going to see more and more of these things as it becomes easier and easier to do. I'm curious. Let's go to small business owners for a minute. What are things that you've found, or things that they may not have thought of that they could do that go beyond using it for search or contracts?
Yeah, so I think one of the most I think effective and proven methods is to use an AI agent to basically be your front line when there's an inquiry from the outside world. So someone wants to know what services or products you offer, they want to get a quote, they want to come in for a meeting, and the AI agent can be as sophisticated as your best employee and literally do exactly what your best employee would do in terms of figuring out what that person needs, what they're looking for, and basically giving them some feedback and providing them with an outline of the services you offer, giving them a sense of budgets, giving them a sense of the schedule, and then even scheduling that first meeting. And all of that can happen autonomously without you being involved. And we're seeing that happen already at some of the biggest tech companies. They're using these AI agents to basically deal with leads and so forth. And it's remarkable because, unlike human beings, they never make mistakes. They're never late to respond. And again, they have this unlimited access to the entire database of whatever your company offers. So there's no delay or latency in terms of getting back to that person inquiring. They're instantaneously giving them the information they're looking for. I bet a lot of the listeners out there right now would be surprised to know that many of the emails that they've received from companies that they've reached out to are not human beings at all. Yeah, they're AI agents in some way or another that are basically interfacing with you, and they sound natural, they sound real, they've got an emotional, almost conscious element to themselves because they're really based on natural language.
One of the things that I'd like to kind of finish with is this notion that maybe I'm cheating if I use AI to help me.
Yeah, no, you're not cheating. You're just freeing yourself up for more creative thought, for more philosophical endeavors, for more of the real human condition. We as humans, I don't think we're meant to do day in and day out mundane tasks. And if we can outsource that, if we can really have that handled by a third party entity that does a really good job, it's going to give us more time to be innovative, inventive, and probably solve and create much more advanced solutions to life and purpose.
I'll give people a quick hack in our last minute here. One of the things that Zoom, which we're using, does just recently added a couple months ago was something called the AI companion, which captures our conversation, synthesizes it, summarizes it, but it also automatically pulls any kind of action items out of it and then emails it to me, which I could then do whatever I want with it. And I tried today because I got all these action items, this huge long list. And it's like, oh man, I gotta have to sort it. I got to think about it. I said, you know what? I'm going to put this into chat and just say, sort this in a logical order. Bing, bing. And it just came right back. And I was like, okay, thank you very much. It has saved me an hour.
Yeah. And you've got more time for the human connection, which is still
Exactly.
something that the AI just simply can't match.
Jacques, thank you so much for joining us here on TEDx Santa Barbara's Making Waves. I appreciate the insight.
Pleasure to be here. Thank you.